It is time for the 2025 Kentucky Derby Handicapping Preview Show from Daily Racing Form. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Alexa Zepp, and I'm very excited because over the next couple hours, we are going to get all of you ready for the 2025 Kentucky Derby. Alexa, we have, I think, 4 guests that are going to join us over the next couple hours to help us get through different sections of horses of the race. We're going to really get you a deep dive into the Kentucky Derby. We'll be able to talk with some of our guests, see how they're going to bet the Derby. We'll get their top picks. And then at the end, we can also talk a little bit about Kentucky Oaks Friday, a quick preview of that. So we have a lot of ground to cover here. Are you excited? You got that bounce in your step that everybody in racing has on Kentucky Oaks and Kentucky Derby week?
Yeah, I mean, there's just an energy about life this week, right? I mean, this is what we've all been waiting for. So, very excited. It's shaping up to be really competitive races, both the Oaks and the Derby. So, yeah, we're going to give you all a deep preview of everything.
So let's kind of go through the run of the show real quick. We'll have Matt DeSantis joining us in the next segment, and we're going to get into horses 1 through 4 in the Kentucky Derby. Then we'll have different guests for different parts of the race. Pete Rotundo will join us to talk about a couple sections, horses 9 through 12 and 13 through 16. We're going to have Adam Mills join us to talk about a couple of the horses that are more international, because that's where he is an expert. He can talk to us about how that might impact horses coming from Japan over here into the Derby and how they'll compete. We'll finish things up with Darren Zocali and Roberto Rodriguez. We've seen Roberto from DRF and Espanol. And then following that, we'll have a couple different guests tell us how they would bet the Derby with $100. I think that's always a really useful exercise, Alexa, because $100 is kind of a good round number, and you can obviously expand it, or or if you have to like divide it based on your bankroll. That's one thing for me. I will say that for one person, $2 might be the same as $2,000 for another. So I'm not someone who's a snob when it comes to amounts of money that you're betting, because 5 to 1 is 5 to 1, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if you play for $5 or 500 and you win, you're still winning. So that's a great thing about racing. You really can scale up and down your bet sizes, and we have bets that can be as small as 50 cents. So it's a game for everybody.
And we have bets that can pay you massive amounts of money. And we actually have a graphic that will show you some of the huge payouts that we can find on Kentucky Derby Day. Alexa, look at this. This shows you how much money is bet into Kentucky Derby pools, Kentucky Derby race. And then don't forget, it's not just the one race of the day. It's all of the races that lead you into the Kentucky Derby and have different wagers that lead into it. I mean, you can make incredible amounts of money if you hit a pick 5, if you hit a pick 6, if you hit something like a trifecta or a superfecta in the individual Kentucky Derby race. It's one of the biggest days of the year as far as money in the pools. You probably want to compare it to like a big lottery day. As the pool starts building up and there's more money in there, you just know the payouts are going to be massive.
And it's so important you mention that, because I feel like when I talk to friends about the Derby and the Oaks, they've obviously heard of those races, and a lot of them are really surprised that there's more than that race going on that day. I mean, I think there's 14 races on the card for Saturday, and most of them are graded stakes races. There's millions, and I mean, the Derby itself is $5 million, but a lot of the other stakes races still offer $1 million in prize money. So it's a huge day of racing all around.
A lot of big racing days are kind of comparable to track meets in that they will have a championship or really important events for horses in all different divisions, horses that will run a little bit longer, horses that'll go shorter, the older horses, the younger horses, horses running on grass, dirt, and different surfaces. So you'll get an opportunity on a lot of these big days to see the best horses in all these different age groups and all these different divisions on different surfaces. And that is certainly the case come Friday and Saturday. There are going to be a lot of opportunities to make money over those 2 days, which are Kentucky Oaks Friday and Kentucky Derby Saturday. So big money up for grabs in the pools. But what's nice about racing, Alexa, like some of these wagers, you probably have to bet a lot into, but others you really don't. I mean, you can get lucky sometimes putting together a small trifecta, a small superfecta, or even one of these. We know people that win based on just kind of picking numbers. Sometimes they put their addresses together, or if you, sometimes it's your day. I know you have had great days. I saw you in the NHC a couple years ago have a couple really nice days. We have those days as gamblers. And if it's your day on a Kentucky Derby day or a Kentucky Oaks day, that could be a life-changing day for you.
Yeah, it's a good day to have your day for sure. I'm looking at some of the payouts just from last year. So we talk about exactas and trifectas, which are the first two and first three in order of the race. They also have a super high five sometimes, and that's the first five in order. Obviously difficult to hit, but last year in the Derby it paid a little over $300,000.
Yep.
So I mean, really, like if you're right, you can rake it in this weekend.
And
So
we know there may be some of you folks watching this, especially come Kentucky Derby time, that are not necessarily the most hardcore horse racing fans. Maybe you tune in just a couple times a year for the big events. We'll do our best to try to explain things as much as we can to you, so we're not talking over your head. When you're looking at a graphic like this and you see it says Derby handle, that means all of the money that is bet on the Kentucky Derby together. And then it gets into some of the specific wagers like the pick five, which would basically be like winning a 5-team parlay, which is incredibly difficult to hit. And the pick six is one of like the big like white whales for us horse players. It's one of the more difficult wagers to hit. But give you an example, a couple years ago, my dad hit one of them for $180,000. So they
no
can,
way.
yeah, they can absolutely change your life in one day.
What's your biggest pick ticket hit, Gino?
For me, I've had a $30,000 day, which was my biggest one to go. So
I had a $56,000 pick five once.
You can really change things in one day in horse racing, and not for that much money. I mean, sometimes cost you $100, maybe $150 to hit something just like that. So that's how we're gonna make some money betting on the Derby and some of the races leading into the Derby. But now we want to get you some specifics as to the Derby this year and some of the horses running in the Kentucky Derby this year. Alexa, here is a look at the possible odds for the field. This is the morning line odds that our colleague David Aragona has set. He does a fantastic job. I know I'm biased. He's the absolute best when it comes to making the morning line odds. He cares about it. He's obviously, you can just see it's something that he really takes some time, and he pays attention and knows all of these horses, not only the horses from New York, but all around the country. So this is what he has set as the morning line odds. Remember, in horse racing, you'll see odds set with a number -1. So that would be like for journalism, for example, you would see something like 3-1. That would be the equivalent of +300 that a lot of you sports bettors might see more frequently when you're betting, sports, when you're betting teams, when you're betting future wagers or individual props. What's something that you notice, or what are some of your thoughts just kind of looking at the field and the entire body in the morning line odds?
I mean, odds-wise, the Derby is always like a gold mine, right? Because it's so competitive. There's so many horses. They make a special starting gate just for the Derby so that they can have 20 horses in the race. So it's just exceptionally competitive. So you have really good proven horses going off at 15 or 20 to 1 or plus, what is that, 2,000? 20 to 1? Is that right? Plus 2,000. So that's why it pays so much, because it's so competitive. So it's really exciting to see. You can get some really good overlays on horses that are really, really talented.
Yeah, and it, again, doesn't cost a whole lot of money. You can get involved for as little as $1 if you want. If you want to just have some action, if you want to have some fun while you're watching the big races, you can do that. Or if you want to get a little bit deeper into the weeds, that's why we're here. We're going to try to lead you in the right direction, and we will start things out in our next segment. We're going to go through horses 1 through 4. So we'll start out with Citizen Bull. He was the 2-year-old champion from last year. We'll give you some individual thoughts on each of those horses, and then we'll move through the body of the field. Our first guest that joins us to kick things off is going to be Matt DeSantis from NYRA Bets. He's going to help us out talking about numbers 1 through 4. So don't go anywhere. Sit back and enjoy. We have about 2 hours of Kentucky Derby analysis ready for you, and we're going to get you all set. So if you're betting the race, if you're at a Derby party, you're going to be the expert there this year for the 2025 Derby.
Cosmo was supposed to fight Ciaran Clark, but he had to pull off injury. You get the call. You get to go in there. What was it like for you when you got that call, jumping in there and be part of this bantamweight tournament on short notice?
Terrifying, man. 2 weeks notice against a stud, but I've been preparing for my whole life for it, and I couldn't say no to the opportunity, and saw what happened. I came in there and kind of shocked the world. Not kind of, I did.
Only on SportsGrid.
Malaysia Fawali, who you guys know I am a huge fan, has decided to switch allegiances and stay in league. And now she's going to go play for Kim Mulkey. Her, Flau'jae Johnson in the backcourt. It's going to be interesting to watch. You wonder sometimes with roster construction, maybe too much is not too good.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
We know your other brother Marv did the Knicks forever, but you've done just about every team in the league. You did Ames, you did Dr. J games.
But after 45 years in this crazy business, people kept telling me, you got to write a book. So I did, and here it is.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's time to meet the field for the Kentucky Derby, and I'm going to introduce you so you can meet a good friend of mine, Matt DeSantis. I love this guy. I've spent hundreds of hours talking races with old Matty over the last couple of years, and he joins us from NYRA Bets to help us preview numbers 1 through 4 in the Kentucky Derby. First up, Matty, how's everything going on your end? And give us a good plug for NYRA Bets.
Yeah, everything is going great, staying really busy, and yeah, making a lot of content for Naira Bets. We have a lot of written analysis up on the site and on the app, but we also have a great YouTube channel with a ton of race previews, individual contender spotlights. And by the way, I stole an idea from you, Gino. We're doing a 24-hour live stream starting Friday, Oaks Day through Derby Day, Saturday at noon. We're going to have a lot of guests. I know you're going to pop on for a little bit.
Oh, yeah. We're
going to be raising money for Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance as well, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Fantastic and a great cause. So we'll be jumping on and helping Matt with that. But right now, we're going to help all of you find out more about numbers 1 through 4. And Matt, when they drew the field last week on Saturday night, and a lot of the speed horses ended up down on the inside, they might be impacting each other. And one of those speed horses is the 2-year-old champ from last year, Citizen Bull. Kind of comes into this race, though, off a disappointing effort. But when he's down on the inside and he's trained by Bob Baffert, who's won this thing, 6 times now, you know they're going to try to get out of the gate and be quick early, right?
Absolutely. The plan is to obviously move forward. You had that massive 5-furlong work this week, 58-2. A lot of people thought that might have been a little too fast of a work, in fact. But, listen, he's got one plan, and that's to go to the front. He's a different sort of animal when he's on the lead. But I think that Santa Anita Derby kind of exposed the fact that maybe if he's pressed a little too much, he's vulnerable. That said, Bob Baffert insinuated that he wasn't really in top shape for that Santa Anita Derby. And he joked, now he's ready for the Santa Anita Derby. He's gotten some big workouts out in California leading up to this race, and he's going to be a major pace presence early on.
Alexa, what are you going to do with the 2-year-old champ from last year?
It's really interesting. Usually the 2-year-old champ, if they make it to the Derby, is going to be the favorite or one of the, second or third favorites in here. And you see that morning line at 20-1 or plus 2,000 odds. I mean, that's showing there's some, tibiness about him. And I understand it. I also agree. But then you look at what he's done and you look at those odds and I'm like, oof, if he does end up going off over 10-1, it is tempting to include him.
Matt, the number 2, Neo Equus, was one of the last horses who qualified for the Kentucky Derby. And just on paper, he feels like he's going to be one of the longer shots in the field, likely be showing some early speed. I just don't know if he's going to be around late. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I think the plan for them is probably dependent upon what Citizen Bull does. I mean, if Citizen Bull quarter horses it out of the in number 1 hole, then I would imagine Neo Equus is just going to drop down to the rail and follow Citizen Bull around the track as long as he can. He's an honest horse coming out of that Florida circuit, but it does make you think about a horse like Rated by Merit, who was a Florida bred, who was easily beating him and was unfortunately taken off the Derby trail before he had much of a chance. But yeah, Neo Equus is going to be a huge long shot. And for me, I just don't really see a winning trip for him.
Alexa, he's trained by one of the top trainers in Florida, Safi Joseph Jr. Do you give Neo Equus a shot?
Yeah, he is a great trainer, and first time for Neo Equus out of Florida. He's ran every race at Gulfstream. And I kind of think of Dornoch last year, right, who really needed the lead, and then when he just didn't get there, drew the 1 hole, it was just over before it even began. And I do have concerns for Neo Equus that could be a similar trip.
And while we have you, Alexa, we'll talk about the 3, Final Gambit, who is the Jeff Ruby Stakes winner. He's going to try dirt for the first time. You give us a couple thoughts on him?
I mean, it's a big move, right, to try dirt for the first time in the Kentucky Derby, but he has the breeding for it. Sire's 19% on dirt routes and 26% for marathoners, which is, 1.25 mile or more. So there's just still a lot of unknowns for him. At 30-1, I don't think he's the craziest play underneath, but definitely a stretch in here.
Matt, Final Gambit goes out for trainer Brad Cox, who would probably be one of the top 3 to 5 trainers in all of U.S. racing right now. And he had a lot of horses that we thought were going to make the field for the Derby. Even about a week and a half ago, he had a horse named Tapan Street, who would have been one of the major players. But now we look around and it's just Final Gambit. Do you think he has a chance first time on the dirt?
He needs to trip out, obviously. And the good news for him is he's got a lot of speed around him, and he doesn't have any speed. And so he's going to let that speed go up front. He's going to drop down to the rail as well, hope to save a lot of ground from there and then make that one big run. But, listen, the last speed figure was a 90, which is a perfectly respectable speed figure, but it also is a little bit of a standout. His 3 speed figures before that were all in the 60s. So it's a little bit of a question of, is that last race an anomaly and can he back it up?
And Matt, you cover a lot of the racing in New York for Naira Betts. The horse who won one of the big races in New York, the Wood Memorial, was Rodriguez. That was the New York way to get qualified for the Kentucky Derby. He was super impressive that day. And I know you like a little bit the horse who ran behind him, but I think both the winner, Rodriguez of the Wood Memorial, and Grande, who was behind him, they both feel like major players in the Derby. And Rodriguez is trained by Bob Baffert. He has good early speed too. Talk to us a little bit about him.
Listen, I think he's a horse that needs the lead. The 2 races where he's been up on the front end, he's won. His maiden race, and then obviously, like you said, in the Wood Memorial. The races where he's had to rate off the pace, he's not been quite as effective. Now, that said, I think I have fewer questions about him getting the distance than Citizen Bull perhaps getting the 1.25 miles. And so I do have him rated a little bit higher. It's just a matter of what that pace scenario looks like early on with Citizen Bull, Neo Equus, Rodriguez, and then you have some more speed to the outside. Obviously, horses like East Avenue, Owen Almighty, even American Promise, Admire Daytona. I mean, we're talking about a lot of horses who might want to be up on the lead. It's just, where does Rodriguez fit in that early mix? But I know Mike Smith is very, very high on this horse. Obviously, sired by Authentic, who was a Kentucky Derby winner, and pretty cool that both Authentic and Tiz the Law have offspring in this race already.
Alexa, this is a horse who, based on connections, as Matt was pointing out, there's a lot of Derby experience and success with jockey and trainer and different parts of this runner. What do you think about Rodriguez?
I mean, Rodriguez, I'm holding off on a little bit because I am concerned that he needs the lead, and I have a hard time playing any horse in the Derby who really needs their way to do well, because you typically don't get your way in the Kentucky Derby with so many runners. So a very talented horse, but I'm gonna hold off on that.
Yeah, I kind of like him maybe the most of the speeds. I could see him either winning the battle of the speeds or maybe getting a good trip right in behind some of those horses down to the inside like Citizen Bull and Neo Equus. So we are going to take a quick break. When we return, we'll move along and we'll get to the next grouping of horses in the field. But this is not the last time you're going to see Matt. He's going to let us know how he would bet the Kentucky Derby on a $100 bankroll. So you'll see Matt back in just a little bit. He'll give us some of his thoughts on how he's going to bet the Derby. Don't go anywhere.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
They've won 7 in a row. They've been dominant at Citi Field. Lindor's been insane. Pete Alonso's been raking.
You know, Griffin Canning, David Peterson, those guys have pitched really, really well. And when you put it together with that lineup, especially like you said, Lindor's been great. You know, they've got the makings of something very special in Queens.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
As we move to numbers 5 through 8 in the field, we're going to welcome in our next guest from Total Performance Data to talk to us about numbers 5 through 8. Adam Mills joins the show for the first time. Adam, thanks so much for joining us here. Now, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about Total Performance Data?
Sure. Thanks for having me on, Gino. Total Performance Data, I guess you'd say our job is to tell you what happened and why it happened. So we look at racing from 14 countries around the world. We look particularly at how horses start a race. How long was their stride? How fast did they move? What speed were they going? Which horses were finishing the fastest? Who was running the fastest after they crossed the line? And the idea behind that, the analogy I would give is I wear glasses because my eyes don't work. And that's really what Total Performance Data is to do. You can watch a video replay of a race, but until you look at the data, you can't be sure with what you're watching. And that's really all that we do.
Yep, and it's taking it to the next level that I think a lot of the sports bettors here know as far as the advanced metrics, right? And we think of it as analytics and stuff like that. You're just going one level a little bit deeper, and you can really dive into some of that data. Speaking of which, let's talk about this next group of horses. First one is American Promise. Adam, he is really fast. He won the Virginia Derby. We know that his trainer can win the Kentucky Derby. He's done it 4 different times. Any thoughts on American Promise and his chances in the Derby?
Well, his trainer's got an excellent record, and we have to bear that in mind. But the horse is 2 from 9. I thought the win at Colonial Downs, everything was perfect. It was a beautiful start. He got into a good rhythm. Now, his stride is what you'd want. We expect his stride to average 25.34 feet based on our assessment of his previous form. You want a horse with a long stride to get themselves out of trouble in the Derby. Sorry, I called it the Derby. I should have said the Derby.
You got it. You got it.
I can't help it. But I'd just be concerned. His top speed last time was 42.37 miles an hour. That's good. But if you look at the horses in behind him, they were particularly slow. This is a big step up in class. I just felt when we looked at our expected rankings, we'd have his average speed. We'd have him ranked 20th. I think what will happen is he's got a stride that will keep him in contention. And then when they get into the home stretch, the class of the others will find him out. And I don't think he'll finish in the first 5.
Lexa, where did you have American Promise kind of stacked?
Yeah, I have to agree. You also have to look at the record specifically at Churchill, where he's ran over it 3 times and faded in that long stretch every time. So I'm also passing on American Promise.
Adam, the drawn right next to each other are the 2 horses who come in that have actually run in Japan. We've seen the Japanese runners all over the world just get so much stronger in the last few years, so much more competitive. Maybe it's the year that we have a Japanese runner win the Kentucky Derby. What can you tell us about Admire Daytona? I think we have a graphic to support some things about Admire Daytona.
We do. I mean, Admire Daytona is one of a number of Japanese horses. The Japanese have really had a massive impact, particularly on the racing in Dubai over the winter. Admire Daytona won the UAE Derby 12 months ago. That was won by Forever Young, who went on to finish 3rd in the Derby at Kentucky. So he's got to be of interest. The obvious point with him is that those drawn around him must be delighted that he's in gate 6 because he is rapid from the start. 5.2 seconds to reach 30 miles an hour from the gate in Dubai. I've had cars that can't do that. This horse is going to get out in front. I'd imagine the connections of journalism and a few others will be looking at him as a potential target. Now, he's got quite a compact stride, less than 24 feet as an average. I don't think he has the ability to win the race. And we saw in Dubai, the petrol gauge was certainly flashing red in the closing stages as Heart of Honor was trying to run him down. He held on that day, but he's facing bigger and better horses in Kentucky. But what he is a pace angle. And I think he'll be in the first 3 or 4 round the opening bend to give the others something to run at.
Alexa, the 2 horses from Japan are right next to each other, Admire Daytona and then Luxor Cafe. Do you have thoughts on those 2?
Yeah, Luxor Cafe is definitely my selection over the 2 Japanese horses. I think one thing I've seen in all of his running lines is that he takes command, and that kind of energy and ability in the Derby, I think, is really important.
Adam, if you have a thought or 2 on Luxor Cafe, and then we could move into your thoughts on the favorite journalism.
Yes, certainly. I mean, Luxor Cafe, we have a phrase in English racing called could be anything. And what that really means is punters and pundits don't really know. But this horse just wins so impressively in Japan. I thought he was really impressive last time. 152.10 for 9 furlongs, 62 kilometers an hour top speed. He's got the ability to be there. He's got the magic man, João Moreira. That alone is worth a few pounds in my book. But there is a key point to make here about the race he won. That race was won in 2024 by a horse called T.O. Password. T.O. Password went on to finish 5th in the Derby last year. Luxor Cafe was 2 seconds faster. Now, it's a different year. The surface will be slightly different. You can't read too much into it. But that time alone would make him of interest.
And then the horse to beat is Journalism. We only have a few seconds left, and we'll talk more about him throughout the show. But what do you like so much about him, Adam?
When the boss sent me the email for this podcast and he said to me, "You've got Journalism," I was like, yes, that's the one I want. Big, long stride, 25.91 feet is his expected stride. That's big, and that's crucial. If you compare it to Admire Daytona, that means at full stride, he's going to take 2 feet out of Admire Daytona over every stride. The analogy I give to my kids when we're looking at racehorses is, think about Usain Bolt, the fastest man alive. It's no coincidence that he's very tall and he had a long stride. It's not as simple as that. I'm the same height as Usain Bolt, and there's no chance of me running that speed. But Journalism is going to get the perfect toe into this. He's got the big, long stride. He's got the top speed. He needs the luck. He needs the gaps to come at the right time. But if they do, is he not just the best horse in this race by a distance?
Journalism is the horse and the pick for Adam. When we return from this quick break, we'll move into the next grouping of runners, starting with number 9, Burnham Square.
Vegas knows how to show love to our everyday heroes. So if you're a first responder, you are in for some perks. Lots of hotels and casino offer big discounts to any first responders who can show valid work or volunteer ID. So treat yourself to a discounted stay. You deserve it. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Second game of doubleheader. We don't know exactly who's going to be in the lineup, and maybe you get an extended game number 1, which means tired bullpens and closers used up, which aren't available for game number 2, and maybe finding some extra shots here. But I do think the pitching matchup more susceptible, Tom, to runs here.
This is part of what we look at. Like I said, I don't expect both teams to win. So we have a pitcher who may not be sustainable at 28.6, but he's playing well right now.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, do you get rid of Booker? Because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play. every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Moving to the next group of horses, and we're going to get to the number 9, but we welcome in our next guest. You've seen him on this show before, our good friend from First Bet from First Racing, Pete Rotundo. Pete, exciting time for all of us, but I got to say, you, my friend, are now a star of screen as well. I saw you on Netflix, Race for the Crown. I'm sure you're getting lots of probably asks for interviews and all sorts of things after that, right?
Oh yeah, big time. I got an agent. I'm ready to roll. 8 seconds of fame. This is what happens.
Well, Pete, we have our big week coming up this week, and then you and I, we're going to talk about the Preakness in a couple weeks too. That's a big week for First Bet, for First Racing. Alexa and I will be there. We're pumped about that. But when we go through this field and we meet some of the horses, one of the horses that you actually like a little bit is the 9, who we can start with, and that's Burnham Square. This is a horse who you have had the chance to see run at Gulfstream Park. He actually won the Holy Bull, and then he came back and he won the Bluegrass over at Keeneland. You sort of know what you're going to get from him too, right? He's a deeper closer. He's going to kind of drop back. He's going to make that one late run.
Yeah, exactly. I saw him all winter at Gulfstream. He won the Holy Bull. He had a little bit of threw a bad race in the Fountain of Youth and came back strong in the Bluegrass. He looks like a monster, right? Training at Churchill Downs. And our good friend Matt Bernier has been on him since February. Keep getting the text messages, and I'm like, if I leave him out, I'll be in big trouble. So I'm gonna use him. I'm a little nervous about the distance. I'm not sure he's 100% bred like some of these guys, but I definitely got him in there to hit the board.
Alexa, what are we going to do with Burnham Square?
Yeah, I like Burnham Square as well. He beat Tapan Street, who then came back to win the Florida Derby and would be a really solid choice in here if he didn't suffer an injury and have to scratch out of the race. So I think that is an interesting thing to keep in mind. Also, he has Brian Hernandez aboard, and he won both the Oaks and the Derby last year riding for Kenny McPeek, and he rides for Kenny McPeek. So the fact that he chose to not ride for Kenny this race and get on Burnham Square, I think are all really positive signs.
We just showed you Burnham Square winning the Bluegrass at Keeneland. The number 10, Pete, is Grande. Grande is the Wood Memorial runner-up, but is another horse that you probably saw run a couple times at Gulfstream Park. He won his first 2 starts before stepping up into a stakes race, and he goes out for top connections. Another one of your co-stars, right? Mike Rapoli, who was in Race for the Crown, owns Grande, and Grande goes out for trainer Todd Pletcher and John Velasquez. So we have a trainer who's won the Derby, a jockey who's won the Derby, and an owner who puts a lot of money into the sport.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that Rapoli is under the radar here this time around is a little crazy. But finally, I think they have a horse rounding into form, right?
Yeah.
Usually they have a horse at the top and trying to keep his form, but this one keeps getting better with each race. You're going to get the price on him. He had a wide trip, as we're seeing right now, in the Wood. I could see him stepping forward. He's bred for the distance. The price will be right. Good connections. I'm using him. Maybe he's not in my top 4, but I'm going to use him underneath in tries and the exotics.
Alexa, talk to us a little bit about Grande.
Yeah, I think Grande is a really strong pick in here. I know, Gino, you like him a lot. He's, I think, your top selection, but he just has a lot of tactical ability. He's been part of the early pace. He's been, coming from mid-pack and closing, and he's so lightly raced. He's the most lightly raced horse in this field. So there's no reason to believe we've seen a ceiling from him yet. And I think running style, the post position draw was really nice in the 10 hole, and there's just so much upside. So I do think at morning line 20-1 or plus 2,000 is a definite win contender.
Yeah, a lot of the things that you both said about Grande is why I like him a little bit. He's moving forward. He had a wide trip last time. He could sit a good trip in this race, and he's going to be really nice value. We move to Flying Mohawk, Pete. For a lot of the sports fans watching this show, you probably know the name Jason Worth, Major League Baseball All-Star. He's part of the team that owns Flying Mohawk. He's gotten into horse racing in the last couple of years, and he is a huge ambassador for racing. He absolutely loves how he's had the experience he's had being an owner. Do you think Flying Mohawk has a shot? He's probably going to be one of the longer shots in the field.
Well, no, I don't. I want him. I want him to run well. I love Jason Worth. He's great for the game. I'm glad he's here. He's taking the shot. He's got the points. He deserves to be here. But he's never been on the dirt. He's not bred for it. So many things have to go in his favor, and the other horses just not show up. I think for him to make an impact.
Alexa, yeah, I kind of agree with P. Like, I'm excited that he's in here. It's good for racing to have a big name like a Jason Worth out there talking positively, sharing his great experiences. He was part of the team with Dornick last year. But not only will Flying Mohawk try the dirt for the first time, this is like the toughest group he's ever faced. He's kind of a deeper closer, too. There're just a couple things that I'm concerned about with him.
Yeah, I mean, props to Jason, right? He's been in the game for a couple of years now, had 2 Derby contenders, won the Belmont. I mean, he's killing it. But do I think Flying Mohawk is gonna fly to the win this year? Probably not. I love Baeza, who's the 21 horse. We haven't gotten there yet, so not currently in the race. Somebody has to scratch out for him to get in. There's some rumors maybe that could happen, but I was looking at Flying Mohawk and I was like, how is he in here and Baeza isn't? So I just think he's a cut below, but we'll be rooting, of course, because it'd be great for the game.
East Avenue is the number 12. That's the next one we're going to talk about, Pete. He was one of the best horses in this group last year. He was really precocious. He was fast. He came out of this group and was one of the horses who was just ready to win right away. And then in the Breeders' Cup, he didn't really run a great race. He had a bad start. And then in his first start of this year, he was a little bit disappointing. But he did bounce back with a good effort when he was second last time out in the Bluegrass, and he is one of the faster horses in this field. I think the draw is pretty good for him because he's in the middle of the field, and a lot of the other really fast horses are down to the inside. I'm just worried that there are a lot of other fast early horses that are going to make life hard for him.
Yeah, I agree. Look, he gives me a bit of those Mandaloon vibes. Who wound up winning the Kentucky Derby a couple of years ago after disqualification. I think he's undefeated when he's alone on the lead. Is that going to happen? Probably not. But because he's a bit wide, maybe they keep him out there where he thinks he's out there by himself. And because a lot of the speed's to the inside, it's his third race off his big layoff. If you can make an excuse at the Breeders' Cup, the race after that, not so good. Again, wasn't on the lead by himself. He's got the breeding. He's got the connections. Godolphin, I feel like he's sneaky at a big price, and he's going to be up close. He's a horse I would use first or last. I might take a shot and put him on top only because what happens if there's a bad break inside? Next thing you know, he finds himself out there. You've seen the movie. That's my own. Yeah, exactly.
He's the first. If you're not first, you're last there. Right. Alexa, what do you do with East Avenue?
Yeah, I was not high on East Avenue at all prior to the post draw. And I mean, I'm still not super high on him, but I think the post draw helped him so much because if you look at the time from US pace projector, right, you see on the screen that top one is the early pace. And so you see the 1, 2, 4, 5 all have a lot of early speed, but realistically, all those horses bunched up, all getting their way, getting to the lead. And I mean, that's not necessarily a super realistic start. So with him drawing to the outside, like you were saying, Gino, and so much of the other speed drawing to the inside, I do think it elevates his chances quite a bit to get a trip that he needs. But that's the key word, right? Needs, because he needs it. He's got to be on the front. And I just don't really suspect him to be able to hang around.
What is really impressive about East Avenue is it's hard sometimes to be that horse that's precocious and then to sustain it, right? A lot of times you'll see those horses who are good early, they're fast, and then we don't ever see them get back to their brilliance. So I love that we saw that he still has some of those really good races in there. He still has the opportunity to have a big, big effort like that. But I am worried about a lot of the other speed drawn down to his inside. We want to let all of you know who are watching this right now, we have a free Kentucky Derby wagering guide that we're offering you. If you scan the QR code on the screen right now on your phone, it'll take you right to that daily racing form free wagering guide for the Kentucky Derby. It'll give you a bunch more information on bets for the Derby and how to help make some money on Saturday. We're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. When we return, we'll get to Publisher. He's next. He's a maiden. He's never won a race before. Can he win the Kentucky Derby? We'll tell you when we return from this quick break.
something to the fact that they blow all these leads against the Edmonton Oilers? It's like the Oilers can be down 4 goals and they come back like it's nothing.
We got a series now. I think this thing is going to reset, Scott. I think home ice advantage is going to hold true in this series. I think I told you that last week. I'm expecting this. I picked the Kings in 7 before the series started, and it's like plus 700.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
It's so crazy that you get both ends of that spectrum and the narrative trying to be correct in doing so and to make a statement for engagement. You're wrong, you've been wrong, and deal with the reality of the situation.
All of the people that analyze the draft mocked one in the first round, and even could he go to the Giants at number 3 or trade up back in that round. They got Gart, they didn't get Sanders, and the fall was on at that point.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to get a bunch of upsets. We're going to get a lot of craziness. Didn't happen as well. I mean, over the last calendar year, Sam, I don't ever recall 6 or 8 months of time in sports where the books lost, but here we are.
They estimate FanDuel and DraftKings lost $185 million combined for March Madness. So estimating not just that they didn't have a profitable March Madness, but it was a huge loss for them as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Continue along the Kentucky Derby field. Is it going to be lucky number 13 this year for Publisher? Maybe, but Pete, this horse is a maiden. He's never won a race before, and he's in the Kentucky Derby, but he has outfinished some other really nice horses. I mean, most recently, he was in the Arkansas Derby. He ran second. He finished behind Sandman. He was in front of Cole Battle. So he's picked up some points along the way. Do you think he's got a shot in here for Steve Asmussen, one of the all-time great trainers who's never won the Derby?
Yeah, I mean, he's got the right running style. If you believe, of course, that there's going to be a hot pace, he'll be coming from the back. I just think the Arkansas Derby was a race that is such like a freakishly run race. And when they went so fast early that the horses, of course, in front had to get tired, and they all came running at the end. So I'm actually fading the entire Arkansas Derby this year. I'm not using any of them. I think they all lucked into that trip. While in theory it could happen again, I think now you have the California horses likely by if Baeza makes it in as well between journalism and the New York horses. I just don't think they're as good in my opinion at this point. So I'm fading Publisher for sure.
We're coming out of a time like March Madness. A lot of people think about college basketball. So what Pete's doing here, he's kind of like fading one of the conferences, right? Just saying like that conference isn't quite as strong when they step up and have to face some of the others. We see that happen quite often, and Pete's going to do it with the Arkansas Derby and some of the horses coming out of that race. What do you think, Alexa, about Publisher the maiden?
Yeah, I mean, playing a maiden in the Derby is a bold move, right? So there's that. But also, I kind of agree with Pete where he's gotten the perfect setup for his running style in his last 2 starts, both in Arkansas Derby and the Rebel. He had fast paces to run at and still couldn't quite run them down. So I think that's a big negative. I think you could play him underneath for a big price if you'd like, but I'm going to leave him out.
I think we've had 3 maidens win the Kentucky Derby, but we have to go back a long ways. I'm looking at 1884, 1919, and 1933. So nothing recent for horses who have never won going into the Kentucky Derby. Pete, up next, it's Tiztastic. He won the Louisiana Derby over at the fairgrounds this year, and he's another one for trainer Steve Asmussen right next door. What was impressive about him, he looked good when he ran in the longest distance race of his career. So distance probably isn't going to be a problem for him. It's just more of like, how good is he really?
Yeah, no, I'm going to use him underneath for sure. I mean, he's in shape. He only has one bad race. You just throw out the Arkansas race and the Rebel, where he was from the outside post. He never fired. I think He's rounding into good form. He's by Tisdale Law, of course. I'm no problem with the distance, to your point. He's got a couple of races at Churchill already, so he's been here, and he's sort of been in training since July, right? So he's got a lot of bottom. I feel like the distance and his foundation is there. I think he's definitely a must use, and you're going to get a very good price on the Louisiana Derby winner.
And Alexa, he has one of my personal favorite jockeys and maybe the strongest finisher of all of the jockeys out there in Joel Rosario. So this horse is a closer with a very good closing jockey aboard. What do you think about Tistastic?
I mean, he's the top earner in this field. He's won over $1.5 million already. So, I mean, you can't really throw shade at him. He's very, very talented. I really struggled on whether or not to include him in my top four. I ended up leaving him out, but absolutely can see playing him at the long odds. I know morning line, they have him at 20 to 1 or plus 2,000. I would want at least 12 to 1 on him.
Pete, the next one is Render Judgment. He's the number 15. He was one of the last horses to qualify for the Kentucky Derby. And in doing so, he's picked up points just like in small finishes in a lot of races. Like he's only won one time in his career debut and since in his second start, and since then hasn't really been close in other races. But he does go out for the trainer of last year's Kentucky Derby winner and the trainer that won last year's Kentucky Oaks. Do you think Render Judgment has a shot at all in here?
Listen, Toby Keith, the late great Toby Keith, who used to be a Breeders' Cup ambassador back in the day, one of the nicest guys, used to show up all the time for us when I was at Breeders' Cup. He obviously passed away. His dream was to get to the Derby. I feel like this is a nod to get him his horse to run, which is a nice story. I just don't think he's ready for this. Maybe down the road. I mean, I could see that, he's got some nice races in there. The numbers keep improving, but it's just a little too difficult for this trip.
Alexa, he probably is going to be one of the longer shots in the field. What do you think about Render Judgment?
Yeah, I can't play him in here. I mean, he's never even hit the board in a graded stakes race. So, and I know I mentioned this earlier, but jockey Brian Hernandez, who rides for Kenny McPeek, and if you have watched the Netflix special that Pete stars in, if you haven't, go do it. It's called Race for the Crown. It's really great. But it shows a lot about those relationships between trainer and jockeys and how strong they are and how much it means to be like a first call and a rider for somebody. So the fact that he opted to ride for Ian Wilkes on Burnham Square, I think does say a lot. I know it could have been because of the order of when he got in the field, but still, I think it says a lot.
And then Pete, for the next one, it's Cole Battle. He's the number 16. He's going to go out for a trainer who I think is up over 70 now. It's like a small barn. And that's what's really cool about a race like the Kentucky Derby. You have horses that come from the biggest barns and the biggest operations. And then you have horses like this, like Cole Battle, who come from small barns. We're going to talk about a horse like Chunk of Gold in a little bit, where a good horse can come from anywhere and from anyone around the world. Cole Battle is one of those horses who every time we sort of think he's in too tough, he kind of passes another test. But you were saying you're a little bit cold on the horses coming out of the Arkansas Derby. Would that expand to him as well?
Yeah, so I mean, Cole Battle, what happened quickly, he won the Smarty Jones back in January, and I love the way he looked. I wasn't really paying much attention, but long story short, I bet him in the future bet, and I bet him in every future bet from there on. So I have him at 52 to 1. I got him at 48 to 1. I love the story behind him. He tries hard. Forget about breeding. He's got none of that. I mean, you can't look at any of that. His jockey is the king of Louisiana Downs, right? Juan Vargas. I'd love to see it. I think he'll try hard. He's just not going to get there.
Pete, before we move to Alexa, give us your top picks for the race real quick. Who did you have stacked up for the Derby on top?
So again, I hate to bet the favorites, never have, but this time around, we're going with Journalism on top. I'm using Luxor Cafe, the Japanese horse, in second. We don't know what we're going to get there, but he's training brilliantly and he looks like a monster. Number 18, Sovereignty. I think didn't need to win last time. He's now, it's his third race off his freshening. And number 9, Burnham Square. So 8, 7, 18, 9.
That's Pete from First Racing. Alexa, I can't pull off a jacket like this, but I think you can. These are the J Coffee jackets, and if you scan that QR code, you can get all the information needed there. I'm not rocking the denim quite as good as you are, Alexa. You
They're very cool. She uses vintage racing scarves that she sews into them. Still time for Mother's Day.
Check that out. Scan the QR code and don't go anywhere. We still have to finish up the Derby field next.
New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of
18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We know your other brother Marv did the Knicks forever, but you've done just about every team in the league. You did Ames, you did Dr. J days.
But after 45 years in this crazy business, people kept telling me, you got to write a book. So I did, and here it is.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, do you get rid of Booker? Because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to get set for numbers 17 and on. Next up, we bring in a very good friend of mine, DZ, Darren Zocali. I have spent hundreds of hours talking with this gentleman right here. Darren, we're going to do an old wrestling recap, right? We're going to be talking about WrestleMania 5 right now.
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's break down the entire thing with Saturday Night Main Event and, throwing Elizabeth into Hogan and all that fun stuff.
So Darren and I are good friends. We love to talk old wrestling, but one thing we love to talk about is horse racing. And Darren, you are a very sharp handicapper. You work for Twin Spires. This is a huge week for Twin Spires being like the partner and the betting site of the Kentucky Derby in Churchill Downs. Give us a little bit of a plug. Tell us anything that you want to about Twin Spires, what you do in Churchill.
Yeah, so this week we have what I think is the best promo in the industry. Every single race, every day at Churchill Downs Derby Week is eligible for up to a $10 money back. So if you go to our promotions page, you opt into that. Your horse runs second or third, you make a win bet up to $10. You're going to get your money back, and it comes back within about 10, 15 minutes after the race goes official, so you don't have to wait for it. You get your money back, and you can kind of churn it and recycle it back into the next race. And then the other big headline for us is the inaugural Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge, which we've had a build on this for months and months, and we're up to the last two qualifiers. There's an $800 qualifier on Thursday for Thurby, $1,000 Oaks Day qualifier, and then the big one with a $250,000 cash prize pool on Saturday, plus BCBC seats, NHC seats, and 2026 KDBC seats, plus 2026 Kentucky Derby tickets as well. So that big contest comes up on Saturday. So the action's been hot and heavy, gearing up for that. And just excited to get to the weekend and see how it goes.
Darren, let's talk a little bit about number 17, Sandman. I know he's a horse that you like a little. We have a replay of his big win in the Arkansas Derby where he comes from way back, strikes the front, but then has to sustain that rally. And we're likely going to see this horse doing his best running late, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I'll definitely admit that he certainly got the setup of all setups that day. And if he didn't win the Arkansas Derby with that insane early pace, it would be hard for me to ever look to him actually winning at this level. But he did what he was supposed to do. There are some concerns with some of the antics. I mean, in the Southwest Stakes, he essentially stood on his head coming out of the starting gate, which cost him probably the win that day. And his recovery in that race was remarkable. In the Kentucky Derby, in the Arkansas Derby, once he made the lead, he started to kind of goof around. I think he hit the lead so early in that race that he was looking around for the competition because the horses went so fast early and came back to him. So I do have some cause for concern in the Derby where, do those antics show up? I talked to Mark Cassey at the trainers dinner on Tuesday night, and he is extremely confident in this horse. He thinks he's just a very intellectual individual who, once his job is done, he kind of looks for something else to do, and he's pretty confident that come Derby Day, he's going to have plenty to focus on. So, but Sandman for me is a developing horse. He's got the right running style for the way the race at least appears that it's going to go on paper. He just needs to work out a trip, which is the same thing we could say for nearly every closer in the field.
Alexa, while I have you, give us a thought or two on Sovereignty right next door, the number 18.
Yeah, Sovereignty is very talented. He's definitely a major player in here. From a value standpoint, I've chosen to fade him after what I consider a little bit of a step back in the Florida Derby and use some other longer price contenders. And I faded him last out in the Florida Derby. He was the favorite, lost, got second to Tapan Street, who would have been popular in here, but unfortunately had the injury and took him out of the game.
I like him more than a little bit. I'll go on record, and I think he's the best horse in the race.
There we go.
Yeah, I thought his Fountain of Youth, whenever a Bill Mott horse comes off a layoff and runs that well off of the bench in such a high caliber field, I take notice. Yeah, I think we got to the point with these horses where they're just not allowed to lose anymore. And it's a common thing whenever a horse runs second, it's like, oh, he got beat, he took a step back. And maybe he wasn't as brilliant in the Florida Derby as he was in the Fountain of Youth, but I think we hold losses against horses far too much and weigh it far too heavily. And I think you're going to see it in the odds, because I think I am 95% certain that Sandman is going to be the second choice and Sovereignty is going to offer substantial more value. And keep in mind, he has a win over Churchill Downs, and in that race, he decimated both the Louisiana Derby and Arkansas Derby winners.
Darren, not only are you a very good handicapper and a very good-looking fellow, but you're also a horse owner, and one of the groups that you own with is trained by Ethan West, the trainer of Chunk of Gold.
Yeah, I roasted him at the dinner where we were up there, and I said, I've been buying $2,500 horses with you for 5 years. What the hell am I doing standing up here interviewing? Why am I not sitting down there with you guys with a horse? But yeah, I mean, Ethan is an incredible horseman. He's honest. He's forthcoming. He always gives you information that exactly how your horse is doing. He's not afraid to tell you whether it's good news or bad news. And the thing about I love him is he rides these horses. He works them, not just gallops them. Like in our workouts with our horses, he literally works the horse and then gets off them and lets us know like how the horse is doing and gives us his recommendations. I don't think there's any pre-Derby jitters for Ethan West. Nothing like that's going to get this horse beat. It's just a question of, is he good enough?
Number 20 is Owen Almighty, and he feels like one of the longer shots in the field, some outside speed. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we'll talk a little bit about Baeza, number 21, and then we'll get into Bet in the Derby, Bet in the Oaks. Darren Zocali, follow him at the track 7. Twin Spires is all we need to know for betting the Derby this week. Don't go anywhere, folks.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never
they
does.
They played side by side
yes.
with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Art Fanning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Art Fanning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
He's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing
him
your thing now where you double down on a take that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over
not
a 7th-round pick.
There were 2
who didn't even play good
quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers, go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decision that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need